Remember that one time when Sauron transformed into an ostrich for the entirety of Rings of Power, introducing, weighing 115 pounds, accompanied by his lover Mary McBaggins and representing the cultural Hindenburg? That is the Rings of Power, the Dark Lord Emo Malfoy from Harry Potter. Hit that like button and subscribe, baby. Now, my favorite part of that trailer is when Sauron said it's ringing time, then decided to spit a sick verse, forging rings, mum spaghetti. Oh, apologies, sorry to burst everyone's bubble, but this isn't Sauron. Oh yes, it's a bait and switch, so I ask, can the real Slim Lord Sauron stand up? Because regardless if this is Sauron or not, I'm still going to make fun of this geezer for looking like Slim Shady. But this is what happens, folks, when the creators take Lose Yourself too seriously and literally lost an entire franchise. The wokies have managed to take the cult saga of Lord of the Rings and turn it to and put their own nauseating ideology on top of it. It's a massacre. It's an absolute insult to Tolkien, period. I can imagine a casting director saying, put an angsty teenager Eminem lookalike in there and the teen girls will love it. I have a question. If Amazon Prime releases the Rings of Power and nobody watches it, did it really exist? The answer is unequivocally no, because remember when Amazon up the Wheels of Time? Probably didn't, because nobody watched that garbage, and that's a good thing. And hopefully the Rings of Power will be forgotten just as swiftly. You boys already know that the key to fueling this fire is not watching a single episode, because the only thing that does exist is Rings of Power's ultimate goal of spreading misery. Imagine dumping billions of dollars into this folly of a series and quadrupling down on the wokeness. Wow. One thing is for certain, they're not making it for the fans. And yet when it inevitably fails into a pile of rotting garbage, those very same fans will get the blame. We've seen this movie 1,000 times. I gotta tell ya, watching these big corporations adapt classic favorite movies and series is exactly like watching Sideshow Bob blindfolded and stumbling across a huge room littered with rakes. These corrupt corporations are forgetting the number one rule, which is the customer is always right. Just look when Disney got their hands on Star Wars and gave the fans the worst sequel trilogy of all time, and then had the nerve to blame the fans for not liking the films. Yeah, it's our fault why your writing and acting is akin to an 8-year-old playing with Lego. Look, if you would have told me 10 years ago that there would be a Halo show, a Lord of the Rings show, and an Obi-Wan TV show, I would have been beyond excited and giddy. And now I'm just underwhelmed and angry. What a time to be alive. This era will be remembered for how much dog shit it produced. In any case, you don't get to tarnish Tolkien's masterpiece and get away with it. These soft as tissue, moronic clowns shutting off the comments tells us all we need to know. Amazon is in meltdown damage control mode to try and control the narrative. The comment section must have been a sight to behold. It must have been a roasting for the ages. Nevertheless, one of the cucks over at Amazon got the order to shut them down and let the Tolkien fans voice their displeasure in silence by taking away their only avenue to give their opinions. We all know that doesn't usually turn out well, but think about that for a second. They are intentionally antagonizing Lord of the Rings fans by doing this, and then wonder why people aren't excited for their show. Enjoy the financial black hole, you insidious Frank here. They're upset at the old fans, the real fans like me and you. They're upset because we're not dead yet, and we won't be for a long time. They just want to cater to the normies who just care about shiny objects. Well, that's too bad. However, there is no denying it. This show, The Rings of Power, is getting trashed by level-headed people everywhere. It's already seen as a joke by the Tolkien community, and far worse than the Hobbit movies. I actually like back the first Hobbit movie, and even that is being trashed to hell and back. The past is dead. We either move on or die with it. Really, I find that ironic coming from a show that exists solely to milk money out of people based on the nostalgia of the past. And speaking of that trailer, it says towards the end, "You have been told many lies about Middle-earth." Is that some kind of lame attempt to justify them breaking the law? The answer's yes. You know what? Go watch the opening scene of The Hobbiton in Fellowship. You should see the difference just like that, and that came out 20 years ago. By the way, I'll just say this. The Rings of Power is going to have, quote, an expedited timeline, which in translation means about 1,500 years worth of story being condensed into the life of a single person. That is basically the equivalent of having all the events from, let's say, 500 AD to 2022 happening in the life of a single person, and then turning around and expecting it to be smooth storytelling. Chronologically, it's going to be very convoluted. They are going to make a lot of time jumps. Many of the new characters that we meet in the trailer will probably die over the course of the season if centuries are skipped. It's going to be rushed. It's going to have terrible dialogue. The setting looks both expensive and cheap at the same time, and it lacks any kind of realism. Now, it does have pretty colors, don't get me wrong, but the characters and the world that they're in just don't interact in the way they should. And on that bombshell, make no mistake, the best part of this series will be the people making fun of it. I find it funny that YouTubers will probably make more money off this raging dumpster fire than Amazon ever will. Manix out.